Hey everyone, it's Casey Nicole, and today I'm going to take you through a series of seated positions that will help you to stretch and open through your lower body. We're going to try to get all the different ranges of motion, get the front, get the sides, get the back, get the inside, internal, and external rotation. So we're going to get it all. You shouldn't need any props today, but if you have really tight hips or really tight lower back and you have a lot of rounding in your back, you do have the option of sitting up onto a block, which can be helpful. But sometimes if it's too much, staying seated for such a long period of time might feel a little strenuous on your body. So please just listen to your body. And if it is, maybe look at one of my other videos that has more of the opening from a reclined position, which makes them way more accessible. Otherwise, find a nice comfortable position here. We're going to draw the soles of the feet together and just let the knees open up wide, spine up, close your eyes, hands can rest down at your feet. We're going to take a breath together here before we move in more deeply. Take a deep inhale from the bottom all the way up to the top. Holding it. And then open up the mouth and let it go. Open up the eyes, lifting the spine. And on your next exhale, you can start to tip your weight forward over the legs. Hands can stay at your feet. Maybe it feels good to walk them forward in front of you. You can either stay still and extend the chest away from the hip line, or you can feel yourself sway a little bit side to side, whatever is going to help you to ease into your hips today. Slow your breath down. One more here. And then walk your hands all the way back up. We're going to stay in butterfly, but rather than having the feet pulled in, we're actually going to press them out a little bit more in front of us. So you have more of a square or diamond shape with your legs. Spine up tall. Hands should be able to rest around the knees or shins, but if they're reaching the feet are too close. Lift the spine, breath in. And same thing, exhale, hinging forward. Hands can walk to the feet from here, either staying on top of the feet or maybe you want to wrap your arms underneath the legs and use that as leverage to draw in a little bit more deeply. Give yourself just a couple more breaths here. And then slowly come all the way up. Now from here, we're going to lift the right knee, hug the knee towards the chest, and then right hand is going to reach for the inside. Try to grab a hold of the foot, or you can grab a hold of the ankle, or even hold the back of the thigh around the outside. I'm going to drop back onto my left hand for a little bit more support, and you're just going to start to pull the right knee back and forward. Okay, if you're holding onto the foot, you're pulling it back like a bow and arrow and bringing it a little bit more forward. And you're just feeling a little bit more into that inner hip. Give yourself a couple more rounds here. And then pull it back as much as you can. Hold, and then try to lift up through your chest. Couple deep breaths. And then gently release, set it down to meet the left, and then drop onto your right hand. Same thing, lift the left knee, lift the foot, grab a hold of the foot or anywhere along the leg, and start to just pull it back and forward as much as you can. Try to keep your spine long, just working a little bit of that dynamic movement. And then as you pull it back, hold it here, and then lift up through your chest. Feel that nice opening. And then gently release. Set the foot down. And actually, let's take the hands to the outer knees, lift them up, separate the feet a little bit, drop onto the hands, and windshield wiper. Windshield wiper side to side. Okay. Now, as the knees come back to center, separate your feet about the width of the mat or a little bit wider, just depending on the flexibility of your hips. Okay, so first, we're going to feel external rotation. So your knees kind of flop out to the sides. We just did that in that butterfly position in those variations. And this is often practiced a little bit more than internal rotations. So begin to lift the knees back up to center. And this time, let the knees fall in. If they touch each other, walk the feet a little bit wider. And then feel a little gap of space between your knees, holding here. This is the internal rotation. This might feel a little bit more challenging. You can stay here or walk your left foot back in. Maybe set the left foot on top of the right thigh and just let it fall open. It's okay if your right hip lifts a little bit, and it's also okay if your knee doesn't touch the ground. If it feels too intense, just take the foot off, and that's perfectly fine, and just let the knees continue to knock in. Okay. Set the foot back down, swivel the knees back up to center, let them knock in towards each other, that gap of space, and either stay here or this time lift the right knee up and set the right foot on top of the left thigh, and then just let it melt in. Set the foot back down, swivel the knees back to center, walk the feet in, and a nice little shake here. Okay, we're going to extend the right leg out. Now, in order for us to open up across the front of the hip, we're going to have to take a bend into the left knee and set the foot back. So the foot is not pointing out to the side. We want the top of the foot to lie flat. If you need to sit up onto a block, you absolutely can. If this is out of the question, just skip it. Totally fine, just to bring the sole of the foot to the inside of your right thigh. Perfectly fine there. We won't get as deeply into the hip flexors, but that's okay. So we're going to start first with the hamstring stretch. Try to walk your sit bones back so you can pull the flesh back. Long lifted spine, and then exhale, hinging forward. Hands can walk forward down the length of the leg. Extend your chest long away from the hip line as you fold. You can move a little bit if you feel like it, if it feels good in your body. Just a couple more breaths. Now, if your foot is on the inner thigh and you have gotten rid of the bent knee variation, where the heel is back by your glutes, then stay here, folded over your front leg, okay? Otherwise, coming up. And then from here, rather than pulling the flesh back for our sit bones, right, we're actually going to lift and kind of tuck and curl them under, okay? So we create a lot more rounding here, but we're going to create a lot more space across the front. So drop back onto the hands, lift up the ribs and chest. You could stay here or walk the hands in, lower down onto your elbows. Maybe tuck the tail a little bit more, or come all the way down onto your backs. Tail reaches down. Feel the front hip points trying to lift up towards your belly button. Hands can rest where they're comfortable. Maybe it feels good to take them overhead. Give yourself a couple more breaths here. Or whatever variation you're in is just fine. If this creates too much tension on your knee, skip it. Now, slowly, if you're all the way down, lift your head, walk back up onto your elbows, walk back up onto your hands, and then come all the way up. Lean onto your right hip, sweep the left leg around, and shake it out. Okay, other side. Left leg stays long, lean to the left hip, bend your right knee, bring the foot back, roll the calf muscle out of the way as you sit, top of the foot is flat. Or take foot to inner thigh if you know you're going to stay there. From here, try to pull the sit bones back. Flesh comes back, which creates more of that anterior tilt, which is going to help us find more space in our forward bend. Lifting the spine, inhale, stay here, or exhale, hinging forward, drawing over the front leg as much as you can. Give yourself a few breaths. Little bits of movement can feel good. Now, from here, slowly start to come back up on your inhale or stay there if you're going to stay in that variation. Then drop the hands back if you're going to go into the other variation. Lift your sit bones and then tuck the tail under. So automatically you're going to feel more of an opening through the right quad. Lifting up through your chest, stay here. Maybe walk the hands in, lower down onto your elbows. If you need to readjust your pelvis, go for it. Or lower all the way down onto your backs. Arm variation of your choosing. Slow your breath down. Just a few more here. And if you're all the way down, come back up onto your elbows, come back up onto your hands, sweep the right leg back around, shake it out. Okay, let's open up the legs wide, nice wide open straddle. We're getting now an opening away from the midline, and we're gonna get a little bit more in the inner hip groin, but also into the hamstrings. Let's pull the sit bones back a little bit. You can stay here or walk the hands forward on your exhale, hinging at the hips. Notice I'm not just curling my back. I'm lengthening my spine and letting my pelvis tip forward, which is going to help me find more space. You can stay still or sway a little side to side. Give yourself a few breaths. Slowly come all the way back up. Hands to the outer knees, help to bring the feet in. Feel free to shake it out a little bit here. And we're going to finish off by tapping more into the outer hips. So, as your legs come back to center, extend them out and cross right ankle over the top of the left knee. And then we're just going to bend your left knee, foot flat on the ground. Okay, now if this is already just too much, no worries. You can also modify by just taking a cross leg forward fold, one leg in front of the other. Okay, and we'll switch sides. That's a great alternative. Otherwise, from here, come up onto your hands and try to lift your chest as tall as you can get it. Now, if you want more, you can lift your hips, scoot them closer to the front heel, and draw yourself in as deeply as you can. Give yourself about 3 or 4 breaths here. It doesn't matter how close you are, but lengthen up through your spine. Try not to round your back. The more you lengthen, the more you're going to direct that into your outer hip and glutes. One more breath. And then start to drop back onto your hands until you can stretch the left leg back out, uncross your legs, and shake them out. And then we'll do the other side. Left ankle over your right knee. Bend your right knee, foot walks in. Lift your spine, stay here, or lift your hips, bring them in closer, and then walk yourself in. Whenever you find your appropriate depth, hold and breathe. Maybe sway it a little bit here, side to side. Maybe stay still. Continue to lengthen, drawing up through your chest. Slow the breath down. Guide it to where you feel the most intensity. Then drop back onto your hands, walk the foot out, uncross your legs, and shake them out. Okay, any seat of your choosing, spine up nice and tall, join your hands together at your heart, close your eyes just briefly, and just feel the openness and the expansion in your lower body now. Thank yourselves for taking the time to be here in your practice, and thank you so much for allowing me to guide you. Open up your eyes whenever you're ready. So I love showing a lot of different ways of targeting similar areas within the body and how to leave feeling a little bit more well-rounded, targeting all of the areas. So often I hear my students say, my hips are tight, but the hips move in a lot of different ways. So it's important that we notate where our hips are tight, how they are tight, because sometimes we're really open in some hip openers, but really tight in others. So we're just getting to know our bodies a little bit more deeply. I'd love to hear your feedback in the comments and looking forward to practicing with y'all again soon. Thanks so much.